Before we start, make sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Once you subscribe, don't forget to turn on notifications by clicking that bell icon so you won't miss any of my uploads. Let me know in the comments below if you subscribed and I might just reply to you. Now let's begin. Number 5. It's a Sweet Life. This is a pretty common, although incredibly creepy urban legend that the internet is all over. The story goes that a couple arrived at their hotel room to find that a rather nasty smell had taken over their suite. After a full night of dealing with the stench, they contacted hotel management, who found a dead body underneath the mattress of their bed. Bodies have been hidden inside mattresses, underneath the bed, and in the cupboards after their killer has walked out free and in the clear. I'm sure the truth of this urban legend will have you checking your room for extra guests. I know I will next time I check in anywhere. Number 4. Elmer McCurdy's mummified body. This is for all of you who like to go through carnival fun houses at Halloween time. You might want to be sure what you're looking at is actually fake, regardless of what the claims are. I know it's all the rage to claim you have real mummified bodies and that everything is real rather than the fake we hope it is, but sometimes you get exactly what you paid for. One such unlucky mummy that was carted between carnivals and museums for people's amusement was Elmer McCurdy. This gentleman was said to have been an Oklahoma bandit killed during an attempted train robbery. The local undertaker decided to make some money from McCurdy's misfortune and charged each visitor a nickel to see him as a mummy. After being seen by all members of his local town, McCurdy hit the big time until he was discovered to be the real thing in 1976 and finally laid to rest. Number 3. Are you alone? This is a frequent one. People often report that they feel there is a ghost or a poltergeist in their house haunting them and moving their furniture around. Most people think they're plain nuts, but for one man, he was completely convinced that there was something weird going on in his home. To try and prove to friends and the police that he wasn't crazy, this gentleman set up a series of cameras to try and catch whatever was going on in his home overnight. Very surprisingly, his video captured not a something, but a someone. A homeless woman had taken up residence in his attic and was eating his food and urinating in his sink during the night. He took the video straight to the police and the woman was removed. So next time you think there might be something paranormal going on, maybe set up a camera and see if a not-so-paranormal human being is the cause. Number 2. The Russian Collector of Human Bodies. The 45-year-old historian Anatoly Moskvin stole corpses from cemeteries in many towns east of Moscow between 2005 and 2007. He had always been studying gravestones in order to uncover the life stories behind those stories. Moreover, Anatoly had an incredibly large collection of what looked like dolls in his apartment near the Volga River. In fact, he dug up 29 young girls between 3 to 12 years old and dressed them in fancy dresses for birthday parties in order to fulfill his twisted fantasies. He even made one of them to look like a teddy bear. According to the police, they were mummified remains from the corpses he found around 752 cemeteries across the area. Before we get to number 1, here are some honorable mentions. A freakish elevator accident. There are many legends with scary elevators that have been around for many years, but there is an urban legend that is quite incredible, and it involves the death of Dr. Hitoshi Nikaido, who was stuck in the door of an elevator and died on the 16th of August 2003. In fact, the 35-year-old surgical resident was decapitated as the elevator in a Christus St. Joseph Hospital in Houston, Texas, started to move upwards. The doors of the elevator closed sooner than anticipated, and as it was in motion, the doctor lost his head. According to the police, Hitoshi Nikaido died from multiple blunt force injuries to the body and head. Later on, his corpse was retrieved in the bottom of the elevator, while the upper part of his head was found in the car of the elevator. The woman who released a strange toxin. One of the creepiest urban legends is the story of Gloria Ramirez, a 31-year-old woman who released a strange toxin from her body while she was in a surgical room. This incident took place in February 1994 at the Riverside General Hospital in Southern California. When she was brought into the hospital with several problems, the woman was barely conscious. While in the surgical room, a strange toxin was released from her body and everyone in the room started to fall ill and die. Some of the symptoms included fainting and dizziness, a sensation of burning on the skin, as well as tremors and even paralysis. But it turned out that Gloria Ramirez was not toxic at all by all the measures the doctor knew to use. Number 1. The Real-Life Boogeyman. You're probably thinking that this is one of those wacky stories that tries to tell you crazy things, but in the case of the boogeyman, his story does have some truth to it. Not to the level of the terrifying stories we tell our children to keep them in their beds, but on a more basic level. Boogeyman's story begins from an urban legend that started in the 1970s after several children went missing from Staten Island. While school teachers taking children on trips to Staten Island delighted in coming screaming out of the forest with an axe above their heads, the legend does have a simple, albeit creepy truth to it. Staten Island was also home to the Willowbrook State Facility that housed mentally challenged children and was known for its horrible living standards for both the children and the adults, including Andrew Rand. Rand was singled out by the police as being to blame for the missing children. Rand lived out in the woods and was a heavy drug user. He never confessed or was charged with the murders of the children, but he was imprisoned on other charges. Police still suspect he is the killer, but his sentence ensures he won't be leaving prison alive. So, although the boogeyman is real, rest assured, children and adults, that he is safely behind bars, and you can all go to sleep without the fear of being murdered in your sleep.